your life and death as an ancient Egyptian. Number 5. Born into chaos. So picture this. You're a newborn in ancient Egypt. Congrats. Except, your birth certificate isn't a cute hospital photo with your weight and time of arrival. Nope. It's basically a cosmic lottery ticket stapled to a list of ways the universe might kill you. For starters, your parents are already panicking about demons. Not demons like a metal album cover. No. Egyptians thought the world was packed with invisible gremlins that loved messing with babies. To keep them away, your mom straps on amulets shaped like gods. The most popular? Be's a dwarf with a lion face, who looked like he was drawn by a drunk toddler, but apparently scared spirits into running for their afterlives. Imagine growing up, knowing your spiritual babysitter looks like a Funko Pop gone wrong. And then there's the Nile. This river isn't just a pretty backdrop for pyramid photoshoots. It's the life or death Wi-Fi of Egypt. When it floods just right, everyone eats. When it floods too much, people drown. When it doesn't flood at all, welcome to famine and despair. So from the second you exist, your life depends on whether the river's feeling generous or petty. Basically, you're a houseplant in a room where the sprinkler system either never turns on or blasts you into oblivion. Oh, and childbirth? Extremely risky. There were no epidurals, no hospitals, no antiseptics, just midwives, prayers, and hope. If mom survived, great. If not, well, the gods must have wanted her back. Infant mortality was so high you were basically speedrunning a survival game on nightmare difficulty. So yeah, being born in ancient Egypt wasn't welcome to the family. It was welcome to the world's hardest escape room, where your first puzzle is not dying before age 5. Number 4. School, or endless Goose Doodles. If you survived toddlerhood without being snatched by famine, crocodiles, or evil spirits, congrats. You're now ready for school. And by school, I mean one of two paths. Either you're out in the fields hauling buckets of Nile water until your spine gives up, or, if your parents have some social pull, you're stuck indoors copying bird drawings until your hand cramps. Because learning to read and write in ancient Egypt wasn't like memorizing ABCs. It was hieroglyphics over 700 characters, each looking like a goose, an eyeball, a feather, or some guy doing yoga. Imagine if your English teacher said, "Good news, the alphabet has been replaced by a 700-piece IKEA manual with no vowels. That's your life now." Teachers weren't exactly nurturing either. We know this because ancient Egyptian kids literally wrote about getting smacked on papyrus. Like, "Dear diary, got whacked 12 times today. Guess I'm extra smart now." It was basically the ancient version of humble bragging about pulling an all-nighter. If you came home without bruises, your parents probably wondered if you were slacking. But here's the upside. If you made it through all those goose drawings, you could become a scribe. And being a scribe was basically winning the Egyptian career lottery. While other people were breaking their backs farming in 100-degree heat, you got to sit indoors, write stuff down, and occasionally look smug about it. Sure, it was soul-crushingly boring copying tax records for grain deliveries isn't exactly Netflix material, but you'd probably live longer than the poor guy breaking rocks in the desert. So yeah, ancient Egyptian school was a mix of hand cramps, butt whoopings, and way too many goose doodles. But if you survived, you got job security, a cushy office gig, and bragging rights that your handwriting literally kept civilization running. Number 3. Working for the Pharaoh. Okay, you've survived childhood and didn't flunk out of hieroglyphic goose school. Now what? Time to get a job, and in ancient Egypt, that meant one thing: serving the Pharaoh. Because, fun fact, the Pharaoh wasn't just your political leader. He was a literal god king. Imagine if your boss was your manager, your president, and your divine hotline to the universe. Yeah, no pressure. Most people ended up farming because bread and beer fueled the entire kingdom. Forget kale smoothies or oat milk lattes. Ancient Egyptians lived on carbs and alcohol, like it was a permanent college dorm. But if you weren't farming, maybe you were building pyramids. And despite the Hollywood cliché, those weren't all slave labor camps. A lot of pyramid workers were actually paid in bread, beer, and onions, which means your salary was basically a sad picnic basket. If you were extra unlucky, you might be drafted into hauling giant limestone blocks under the desert sun, while your supervisor shouted about deadlines, like it was a cursed version of corporate project management. Imagine crunch time at work, but instead of PowerPoints, it's a 50-ton rock that needs to go up a ramp before Ra sets in the west. But let's say you got promoted. Maybe you're working in the palace as a scribe or an official. Sounds cushy, right? Except now you're managing tax records for farmers who already hate you, and your life is one endless spreadsheet written in bird symbols. It's like working for the IRS, but with more snakes. Here's the kicker. No matter what job you had, it was ultimately for the glory of the Pharaoh. Every loaf of bread, every brick, every goose doodle was technically his. Which means your whole career was basically one long internship for a god king who never said thank you. Basically, ancient Egyptian work culture was like today's soul-crushing, underpaid, and endlessly glorifying your boss, just with more sand and fewer ergonomic chairs. Number 2. Death was just paperwork. So you've worked, sweated, and maybe even stacked a few pyramids without getting crushed. Congrats, you made it to death. Except dying in ancient Egypt wasn't a final curtain call. It was more like moving to a bureaucratic afterlife, where your soul had to pass through customs. First, there's mummification. Your body is about to get the ancient world's most awkward spa treatment. Step 1. Remove your organs. And no, they didn't just toss them out. Each organ got its own little jar with a god-shaped lid. Your heart, though? That stayed in, because the heart was basically your cosmic GPA. The brain? Thrown out like expired leftovers. Egyptians thought it was just skull filler. Imagine being the part of the body that makes hieroglyphics possible, and still getting yeeted into the trash. Once you're all wrapped up like a linen burrito, the real adventure begins. The afterlife paperwork. Your soul had to stand before 42 divine judges and answer the negative confessions, basically the ultimate lie detector test. Stuff like, I did not kill anyone, I did not steal bread, I did not kick puppies. If you flubbed your lines, that was it. Then came the big moment. Your heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth. If your heart was light, congrats. You got eternal paradise, endless fields of grain, bottomless beer, and 0 demon goblins. If your heart was heavy, though, chomp. The crocodile-lion-hippo monster Amit devoured it, and you were erased from existence. Eternal. Unemployment. Number 1. Eternity as a side hustle. Here's the wildest part. Everything in your life, your work, your savings, your house decor, was basically prep for your eternal side hustle, not dying again. Egyptians spent their whole lives saving up for tombs, coffins, charms, scrolls, and anything else that might help them ace the afterlife exam. It's like retirement planning, except instead of worrying about golf courses, you're budgeting for magic spells to keep your soul from getting eaten. The rich? They went all out. Fancy tombs, gold masks, entire boat models buried with them so they could cruise in style across the cosmic river. The poor? A shallow grave and prayers that Osiris was feeling generous. Basically, the ancient Egyptian version of pay to win. And here's the kicker. Even if you died rich and decked out, you weren't safe. Tomb raiders were everywhere, looting bodies for treasure. So the eternal paradise you'd been saving up for might end with some random guy selling your gold mask for beer money. Imagine working your whole life for a 401 Kelvin, only to have it hacked by grave robbers the moment you clock out. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.